full hog, I'm done, cold turkey, you'll generally find it's very, very hard to stick with that, all right? You can't just change a habit that quickly. This morning's seminar is on binge eating. I know I've said it before, but I can understand that it can be a sensitive topic, especially if you are someone that is suffering from binge eating. Obviously, any questions are welcome, any discussion is welcome. What I want to do with this seminar is if you have any questions as we go through, just hoy out at the time, all right? Don't lose your train of thought, or don't lose like the question, don't wait till the end, all right? Just ask me at any point throughout on the topic that we're discussing, yeah? All right, so the definition of binge eating is consuming large amount of food in a short period, often accompanied by a sense of loss and control. All right, so the difference between binge eating and overeating, I know we've probably always all had that moment where you just like eat to the point of being like uncomfortably full. All right, that's classified as overeating. Binge eating is more of you feel like you don't have control and you just continually eat. Continue. And you don't really have any sense of awareness or any sense of feeling like you want to stop. All right, so there's a difference between your binge eating and your overeating. A lot of people think that overeating is the same as binge eating, but binge eating mainly, you have that sense of loss of control where you just feel like you just have to keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. The main thing associated with binge eating is emotional eating. So people tend to binge eat because of their emotions that they're either feeling or not wanting to feel. All right, so they're using food to cope with stress, emotions, or boredom, and that's how often emotional eating is categorized. So understanding binge eating is vital for obviously like your physical health, but also your mental health. All right, beginning to understand what it is, why you do it, is the best way to put the steps in place to overcome it. So the main causes of binge eating. So this is understand why you binge eat, or the what. All right, so there's a lot of things that influence binge eating, and it's mainly influenced by physical factors, so hormonal imbalances or hunger, all right, psychological factors, emotions and stress, all right, and environmental factors, so social situations and food. All right, the common triggers of binge eating we've got is stress, emotions, social situations, and food-related cues. A cycle of binge eating more often comes from you restricting your food. You then sort of lose control. You binge eat, so you eat a whole heap, you feel really, really guilty, you restrict again, and then you go in that full cycle. So there's a couple of things that you can do to recognize and identify the patterns that cause you to binge eat. All right, the first one, get and maintain a food diary. So it is really good to track your food just to notice when you binge. I know that tracking your food can lead to an unhealthy relationship with food, but if you are trying to overcome binge eating, tracking your food to understand what the story around the food is leading to the binge eating is actually really good, right? Because it can show you how much you're eating, whether you're under eating, which is leading to the binge, what foods you are eating while you are binging and why. Also your emotions around the foods that you're eating as well. Second one we'll go across, so understanding your triggers. So this one's really important. So recognizing what triggers you to cause a binge. All right, so what are the situations that you get emotional or you get tired or you're not eating enough, so you're binge eating because you're like so hungry. Recognizing the triggers that lead to the binge are important as well, because as soon as we recognize the triggers, you can immediately change that circumstance, right? All right. Next one, focus on one meal at a time. Exploring and understanding binge eating can be overwhelming, so if you focus one meal at a time or one period of the day at a time. All right, so that's basically saying just be present where you are. So focus on the meal that you're eating. All right, you eat that meal and don't think about what's going to happen at the next meal or the next time. All right, get through that one meal. Then when that next meal comes up, you get through that next meal. All right. The thing with binge eating is that you tend to, if you go into a binge eating episode, you tend to lose that feeling of control, where your head goes like crazy and you just keep eating. All right, so if you're just focusing on what you're meant to be eating at that time and not focusing on anything else or the next meal, Right, it's going to help you be more present with what you're eating currently, and you won't get that loss of control. Lastly, take time to reflect on your eating habits. All right, so understand like why you choose the foods you choose, why you eat at the times that you eat, in what circumstances lead you to eat what foods, that sort of stuff. Just being aware of like, again, this comes back to your triggers, right? Your specific triggers and your emotions, and being aware of why you're eating the foods when you're eating them. Strategies to help curb binge eating habits. Number one, we've got emotional regulation. As I said, a lot of binge eating episodes come from either you're feeling too overwhelmed with emotions, or you're trying to squash emotions and you're trying to like heal your emotions with food. Putting techniques in place which help you regulate your emotions and be able to sit with your emotions a bit better is obviously going to decrease your binging. All right, so you've got things such as deep breathing, meditation, or journaling. There's a lot of like studies around deep breathing and meditation at the moment, and actually that helping people with their mindset and their emotions, right? And they're all positive studies. So if you haven't given them a try, give them a try. I personally struggle with that because I'm not someone who can just like sit there and like breathe or sit there and meditate, but that's where you just need to find your way of like regulating your own emotions, all right? Number two, find alternative coping strategies. If you are someone who gets like really sad or really lonely and that leads you to binge eating, find something else that's going to give you that sense of joy rather than food. All right, so that includes things like exercise, hobbies, or socializing. All right, so if you're the type of person who, say on a Saturday night, if you're home by yourself, it leads to a binge eating episode because you are tired and you're feeling lonely, a little bit sad, sweet. Organise something social. So get out of the house, get out of your environment and get into a more social situation where you're going to feel more fulfilled with the people rather than with the food. All right, so change your narrative. Number three, social networks. All right, so obviously, as with anything that you do in your life, if you have a strong social network, that's going to be a big difference between like negative and positive. All right, so developing that social network of friends and family, all right, that can help and provide encouragement and can actually help you through the times that you need. And number four, focusing on small goals. With binge eating, a lot of people are like, all right, I'm not going to binge eat anymore right now, I'm not going to do it, all right, which usually then will lead to a binge eating episode. But if you just say, hey, okay, usually in a binge eating episode, I'll eat like a whole block of chocolate. It's fine to eat chocolate, I'm just going to eat half of it, all right, and it's small steps. And then eventually you just keep increasing those small steps, and all of a sudden you'll realise that you don't actually have as big a binge eating episodes as what you did because you've made those small steps to make it better. Yeah. If you try and go like full hog, I'm done, cold turkey, you'll generally find it's very, very hard to stick with that. All right. You can't just change a habit that quickly. Nutritional approaches to binge eating. There's a couple of things you can do nutrition-wise to help binge eating, but again, it's all very like related to you personally and how you view food, right? So the number one thing, and this, as it says, it might seem counterintuitive, but eat more regularly. If you're the type of person who doesn't eat your breakfast, your lunch, you get home and you have dinner and you haven't eaten all day, then you're going to find you're just going to keep on eating, because once you get the food, you're going to keep on eating. If you are really, really hungry, all right, you will tend to overeat, which tends to lead to a binge eat as well, all right? So regular meals and snacks prevent extreme hunger and maintain those energy levels, maintains your blood glucose levels, which reduces the likelihood of binge eating. I've worked with clients before where they have been binge eating, and my number one thing I say to them is eat more throughout the day. Because automatically, if you're more hungry throughout the day, you're less likely to eat more at night, right? It's because you're basically starving your body throughout the day that you tend to eat more at night. Right, which then leads to a binge. Focus on the quality of food you're eating. You want to go for your nutrients, you want to go for your protein, your carbs and your fats, but all healthy stuff. All right, we all know that at night, after dinner, if you tend to have like one little bit of chocolate, that can lead to more bits of chocolate, which can lead to like ice cream and that sort of stuff. All right, whole healthy foods within reason. All right, still have your balance within your life. I'm not saying cut out chocolate, but just make 90% of your diet, so 90% of your nutrition, around whole healthy foods, because it's going to make your body feel better internally as well. And then slow down and practice eating mindfully, all right? Everyone lives in a very like busy, rushed world at the moment, and people just tend to like scoff their food down. I do this all the time, all right? But if you actually sit down and like enjoy your food, eat food you like, enjoy it, eat it slow, enjoy the taste, focus on the texture and the taste, all right, that's actually going to relax your body when it comes to food as well. All right, it's going to relax your mind, and you're actually going to enjoy the meals that you have, which then is going to help prevent binging later because you're actually enjoying the food. You're not just eating it and scoffing it down and going. All right, how physical activity can help with binge eating. So obviously everyone knows, all right, exercise helps your stress and helps your mood, helps your well-being, it makes you feel good. You are less likely to binge eat if you are consistently exercising, all right, less likely. Most people find, for those that do binge eat quite often, you might get the feelings of, why would I bother exercising? Like, that's stupid. I'm just going to go home and binge eat anyway, or whatever. Or the night before I binge eat, I feel rotten. I don't want to get up and exercise. But actually getting your exercise in and moving your body is better than not. All right, you might feel like crap, but it's better than not. As we said, it's going to manage your stress. It's going to improve your mood. All right, and it's also just going to make your body feel better, regardless whether you've binge eat or not. All right. Yes, there's a fine line between that, because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, I've exercised, so I'm going to go home and eat whatever I want. That comes down to like your mindset around it, right? You shouldn't be, and I don't like people wanting to exercise just to eat food. Like, you should be your exercise and your food should be separate in your mind, in terms like you're here to exercise and for the internal and external health benefits of exercise, and your food should be there for your body, right? So they're both for your body, but they should be two different factors, right? Back to physical activity, obviously supportive, open and upbeat environment. So working out with friends, or like, you know, people who are in the same mindset of you, who are trying to get fit, that sort of thing is always going to help. Also setting goals and working towards them. As it says here, whether you want to lift heavier, feel stronger, or run faster, making your physical goals a priority without focusing on food. So that sort of links to what you were saying. So really separating that when you are training, you're training for a specific goal, whether it is, you know, to get stronger or run 5K or whatever, and not linking that towards your binge eating. Structuring your environment for success, all right? This is probably the number one thing that I would recommend for anyone when it comes to binge eating, all right? So you need to minimize the chances of it happening. And the best way to do that is to eliminate the foods that you binge eat on, all right? For example, if you live by yourself or live with your partner, whatever, don't have the foods in the house. If you don't have your binge eating foods in the house, what are you gonna eat? You're not gonna binge on broccoli, right? No one does that, all right? Keeping them out of sight or in a less accessible area is a good option if you live with family or whatever who might not understand what you're going through, or you don't want to explain to them what you're going through. But just having them out of sight, or having like healthier alternatives. It's still classified as binging regardless of what food you eat, if you just continually eat without control. But if you are binging on healthier foods, it's obviously going to be healthier for your body, not for your mental health. But, you know, it's not as full of sugar, full of high calories. Plan and prepare meals in advance to encourage healthy eating choices and establish a routine. Within reason, as I said before, like, you don't want to restrict yourself to having to eat XYZ at XYZ, all right, because you're going to feel really, really rigid, and that usually leads to a binge eating episode as well. If you're someone who thrives on a meal plan where you know what you're going to eat in the next hour or whatever, sweet, go for it. But if you find that on that type of structure, it then leads you to binge eat, then we need to find a new way. On that as well, so preparing meals in advance. So, you know, if you are the person that comes home from work and you don't have dinner and you cannot be bothered making dinner, and that leads to a binge eating episode, well, that's when you need to realise that maybe you need to have your dinners prepared in advance. All right, so when you come home, your dinner is there to eat, and you're not just eating like the packet of chips and, you know, everything else in the cupboard. And then lastly, designate a specific distraction-free area for eating and create a relaxing atmosphere to promote mindful eating. For example, you might, some rules, structure, we'll go structure, I don't like rules. Structure you might put in place is that you eat your meals at the dinner table, all right? You don't sit in bed and eat meals. You don't eat meals on the couch watching TV, because that can usually lead to a binge, just eating while watching TV because you're not thinking about it, all right? You say, when I have my meal, I will sit at the table, all right? Who's sat at a table and eaten like packets of chips and boxes of cookies or whatever while seated at a table? You don't do it. It's when you're on the couch, or if you're in bed, or like, you know, so have that environment where when you eat, you're sitting at a table and you eat what's in front of you. I don't like to say I want to make it a rule because some people might find it too rigid, but it's just a structure that you can put in place to help prevent, yeah? So more strategies, all right? So minimize the chance of binge eating occurring, all right? Set goals that you want to focus on, or that you want to achieve, and focus on positive self-talk. So that comes down to like the nutrition seminar we had the other month of your mindset. So you're looking for the positive of things, not the negatives. Another example of what you can do with that is like maybe you find your mid-binge eating episode, which is fine. As I said, you're not going to be able to go cold turkey. But if you're mid-binge eating and you're aware that you're mid-binge eating and you are able to stop then and there, that's a positive. In your head, you might be like, yeah, but I still did it. But if you stopped, if you're aware and you actively stopped yourself from doing it, that is a positive. Because next time it happens again, you're going to be more aware of that again. Utilize the support around you. So I touched on this before. If you're living like with family or with your partner or something who actually doesn't understand, having that chat with them about, hey, this is what is occurring, I need your help, all right, is definitely going to be easier than trying to do it by yourself. It can be like a hard subject to bring up, and some people don't even understand it, but still like making the effort to like have that conversation. Reflect on past successes and experiment with new techniques. So as I said, it is all about finding what works for you. All right, so what strategies are going to work for you to help you move forward? And it's not a one size fits all. All right, everyone's mind works differently. So as always, guys, if anyone wants to talk to me one-on-one or needs help one-on-one, I'm not going to say I'm like a psychologist or a mental health coach or anything, but obviously like I know the strategies and I know what's going through your mind at certain points and everything, so feel free to reach out. Yeah? All right, cool. All right, thanks, guys.